Hey guys, it's Bree with Calafia Candle Company. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys have been well. Today, this is just going to be kind of a chill studio vlog style video. I am working on the Who Rescued Who candle, which if you watched my last video, or maybe it was the one before, I forget, you will know what that is about. My little dedication candle to our dog Colette that had passed away recently. And I have some made. I think I have about 7 made. Oh, they're right there. Yeah, 7. And I do want to make a few more. I am waiting on more fragrance oil to come in because I am running low on that, but I should be able to make maybe 3 or 4 more. So let's go ahead and get started on that. I just caught my assistant sleeping on the job. Ma'am, we have work to do. We are going to be using the TOAUTO Melter today, and I think I need to add more wax to it before I start. Yeah, I'm going to add more wax to that. I actually had the opportunity to meet with them this week. I met with the owner and a few other ladies from the company. They were so nice and just kind of wanted feedback and to bounce around different ideas. So that was a really fun experience. So when it comes to adding wax to my melter, I have to weigh it out because I do a blend. And I get asked this question a lot actually. How do you know how much to add of each one? How do you do that? So I thought I would show you guys in this video. I also get asked, how do you know what ratio to do of blending waxes? And that is just something that comes with testing on your own and seeing what you like and kind of finalizing that with your test results. So for me, I've landed on this blend of 80% Coconut 83 and 20% Titan 51104. So we are gonna blend those up. I'm just putting some gloves on. And this pouring pitcher I have here, you can see it looks kind of yucky. It just has wax on it. This is strictly for weighing out my waxes. I don't use this for anything else. So that is why it is covered in wax. But let's say we're going to be adding 60 ounces to our melter. I'm going to do 60 times 0.80 to get the 80% of the Coconut 83. And that gives us 48 ounces. So I'm going to put my scale on ounces and we're going to weigh out 48. Okay, just the tiniest bit more I think will bring it to 48. Yep, and it's over just slightly. That is totally fine. It does not have to be exact numbers. You just want it to be as close as possible. So now I'm just gonna add that Coconut 83 to our melter. You can even just kind of dump it in there. I try to place it so that it kind of leaves room for our other wax. There we go. All right, now we're back to the scale again to weigh out our second wax, and you could do it either way. You could subtract the 48 from 60, or you could do 60 times 0.20. I know that 60 minus 48 is 12. I'm bad at math, but I'm not that bad. So now we're gonna weigh out, oops, if I press the right button here, get back to ounces. There we go. We're gonna weigh out our Titan wax. So we need 12 ounces of that. That's a little bit over, so I'm gonna cut some of that off. Let's see. Oh, need a little bit more. All right, that will be good enough. All right, so this wax goes into the melter. There we go. So I'm just gonna flip this switch on, and then I'm gonna turn the dial all the way on to the max. And I've mentioned this before, but it does show 212 degrees as the max, but I found it to get up to 220. So that is perfect for this wax blend. So we're just gonna let that melt down and then we will prep our jars. So as you saw in the last video, I am using the heirloom ceramic vessels from Hive and Honey in the beige color and also the pink. I think these are just so pretty. I'm obsessed with them. And one thing I've noticed about them is because they are ceramic, they are not all identical. They're not all the same size as far as, you know, trying to find a stopping point when you're pouring the wax, or if you're trying to use a wick centering tool to center your wicks, it might not fit perfectly in each one. So that is just something to make note of, but I absolutely love these. And because they are sort of a limited edition release for me, I wasn't going to invest in any wick centering kits for these vessels. So I've just been using what I have on hand and just making it work. This is from Hive and Honey. It is the 3 1/4 double wick centering tool. And for the most part, this works. There are some jars that I made in the other batch where this would not go all the way down. It would get kind of stuck in the middle because, again, these are not perfectly rounded, but for the most part it works. And then for holding the wicks, I have these from Norden, and they're for a different jar, but I've just been making them work for this one. You can see they're a little bit loose. There's a little bit of wiggle room there, but again, I've just been managing with that. So those are the tools I will be using for these jars. Now this is where it gets interesting. So the last set that I made, the 7 back there, I actually had to completely redo. I had to put them in the oven, melt down the wax, empty it out, take out the wicks and clean them out and put new wicks in, because for some reason these wicks were slipping out of the wick tab when I was pouring the wax in. And it only happened on a couple of them, but that was enough for me to just not feel comfortable selling those. So I wanted to make sure that they were nice and safe. So I redid those, and what I did was I actually went into my husband's toolbox and grabbed these wire crimpers, and I crimped the other side of the wick tab. I'll try to show you. Let me move the camera a little bit so you can see better. All right, so by the way, these are HPSP size 12. I was between the 12s and the 15s for this wax and fragrance oil combo, but I landed on the 12s because the 15s just got a little bit too hot for me at the halfway point of the jar. So 12s it is. And I've never had this issue happen with HPSP wicks before. I normally get them through Hive and Honey, but this time around I got them through someone else because I was already ordering something else through them. And they've just been slipping out of the tab. I was reading the comments on the wicks, and a few other people have experienced the same thing. So I figured I would show you guys how I fixed this in case you ever need to do that yourself. So I'm gonna try to get a close-up here. Hopefully it will focus. But on the wick tab, you can see on this one side it's crimped. On the other side, it is not. So what we're gonna do is crimp the side that doesn't have it, and that will make sure it's really nice and secure in the tab. So I have these wire crimpers here, again from my husband's toolbox. I don't know the technical lingo for these, but you can see this little bulge sticking out right here. That is what we're gonna press into the side that needs to be crimped. So I'll try to do this on camera so you can see it. So this is the side that needs to be crimped. I'm going to make sure that that lines up there. And then I just press. And now both sides of the wick tab are crimped, and this is much more secure. The first time I was trying to do this, I was going in with pliers, needle nose pliers, and that was actually bending up the wick, oh, hello. That was bending up the wick tab, and it wasn't flat. So I went in with these instead, and it worked much better. So kind of not the most fun thing to do, to have to do these to these wicks, but you know, I'd rather have safe candles than not. And this is definitely not a supplier issue. It's something with the manufacturer, but just something to make note of. So since I'm double wicking these jars and I have 4 of them, I'm gonna need 8 wicks. So I'm just gonna do this for 8 wicks, and then we'll be ready to wick them. All right, the wicks have been cleaned with some alcohol, and I put the wick stickers on. So now I'm gonna go ahead and center them in the vessels. So I'm just gonna put the wick centering tool in there. And then to place them, you can just place them without anything, but I just like to have them be a little bit more stable. So I'm gonna be using the pole part that came with the Norden wick centering kits. So I just insert the wick into that, pull off the tab, and then all you have to do is place it in the little hole there. I kind of push down a little bit to make sure it's really in there, and pull it out. And do the same thing for the other one, if I can get it in. There we go. And then just take out the wick centering tool. I kind of push down again just to make sure they're on there. And there we have our centered wicks. And then again, I'm using this holder from Norden, and it's not a perfect fit, but we will make it work. So there we go. This jar is ready to be poured in. So I actually had more fragrance oil than I had thought, so I will be able to pour more than 4, but this right here is enough for 4. I just have my little cheat sheet notebook here where I just write down the formula for however many candles I'm pouring, and this is for an 8% fragrance load, and I'm filling these jars up to 10 ounces. Now for this blend, again, I mentioned in my last video that my friend Carissa at Anchor Lake Melting Co. came up with this blend idea, and it is fantastic. I highly recommend. So it is 50% Bali Blue Surf from Hive and Honey and 50% Blushing Bride. These two scents are so good, and blended together, they just create the most beautiful floral ozonic scent. I am obsessed. All right, so the scale is on. We need 1,048 grams of wax. So I'm just gonna weigh that out. There we go. And then for this wax, I just immediately add the fragrance oil. And because the wax is heated to such a high temperature, you really only need to stir for about 30 seconds or so for the fragrance oil to combine. All right, remember how I was saying that these jars are not exact, they're not identical to each other? It's kind of hard to tell when to stop pouring because of that. So I like to weigh these out just to make sure I get the same amount in each one. So we are gonna fill these to 283 grams, which is 10 ounces. Whoop. We went a little bit over, and I'll show you my trick when that happens. I just take one of these little pipettes that I got off of Amazon, and I just take some of it out until we get back to 283. There we go. Those things come in handy. So now I'm gonna move this one off the scale, and we'll move on to the next one. All right, our candles have been poured, and now they are going to set up. And one thing I wanted to mention about this wax blend, as well as just most coconut waxes, is that it is not picky with temperatures. It's very easy to work with. You pretty much just let your wax heat up to the correct temperature, And then from that point on, it's just one step after the other. There's no waiting for your wax to cool to a certain temperature for any step. So it's just very easy to work with coconut wax, and that is why I love it. So I just wanted to add that in there. All right, we will let these set and then come back when they are ready. All right, so as you can see, I did end up pouring 4 more candles here. So I'm just removing the wick holders now. I am gonna do just a little bit of a trim to the wicks before I heat gun, just so the wicks aren't falling over to the sides. And now I am going to run the heat gun over these just a little bit. I don't know if you can see on camera, but oh, there you go. You can see where it dips a little bit around the wicks. So I like to just get that kind of evened out. I'm starting to lose the sunlight. It's getting a little bit cloudy outside, so I apologize if the lighting is not the greatest anymore, but I wanted to show you the labels I'm going to be putting on the gift box that I'm packaging the candles in. So I just kept it kind of simple. I was going to do a tie around tag on the candle, which you would have seen in my last video about these, but when I had put it in the gift box and pulled it out of the gift box, that wraparound tag just completely slid off and came off the candle. So I decided to axe that idea, and I'm just gonna leave them plain. And on the warning label, I have the scent notes on there and all the necessary information, and then on here as well. So that is what I'm doing with these. I'm almost glad I decided not to put a label on these too, because I feel like it's just such a pretty jar. I don't want to take away from that. I think it just looks so beautiful. So I'm totally okay with just leaving these as is. So while those are cooling, I am just going to start labeling these boxes here. I'm just going to line this up here. And I'm putting it on this part here so that when we close the box, this will be the front. This brings me back because I used to do this packaging for my concrete candles back in the day. So this is giving me a little bit of deja vu. It is now the next day, and I just finished trimming the wicks on these, and our candles are all finished now. So here's what they look like. They look really smooth and they smell so good already. They're gonna smell even better after they've cured for a little bit. I usually like to cure my candles for anywhere between 7 and 10 days. I've found that is kind of the sweet spot for me. So now we are gonna go ahead and put some warning labels on and get them packaged up. These are the warning labels that I just create myself using Canva, and then I print them on blank labels from Online Labels. And I do have a digital downloads Etsy store that I have linked in the description. I am actually currently working on adding more listings to it. I took what I had, most of what I had on there down, just because I wasn't the happiest with the designs. I think I can make them better. So I'm redoing most of the stuff, but I do have the warning labels on there still. So if you are in need of warning labels, feel free to check that out. Okay, so just folded up my box. These are the 4x4x4 craft pinstripe boxes from Uline. I will link them down below. And I'm just gonna take a little craft crinkle paper, put that on the bottom like that. Now I'm going to take our candle and place it in the box. And then I'm just gonna fill in the little corners here with more crinkle paper just to kind of help stabilize it in the box and fill in those gaps a little bit. And there is our finished product. I am really happy with how these turned out, and I'm just So excited to be able to donate some of the proceeds from these candles to the rescue. So I believe by the time this video goes up, these will be available on my website if you want to check them out. And yeah, I'm going to end the video here. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.